Hello guys, I am back with today's video and we will be solving today's puzzle. Given hint is dark cloud over the light squares. So dark cloud is basically when someone is in grave danger, right? So here the white king is in grave danger because you see he has pushed his pawn g pawn to g3, and that creates a weak white squares here, and which black can easily exploit. So now we start by looking at all the checks. What all checks are available in the position? There are only two checks. One is with the rook taking on the g3 pawn and giving the check to the king, and second is queen taking on h2, right? So if you take with the rook, then that doesn't lead to a checkmate because it can be easily captured, and now queen cannot penetrate the h1 square, right, to deliver checkmate. So if anyhow queen comes to either g2 or h1, it will be a checkmate. So let's say I start with the queen take on h2. Now that draws the king to take the queen. Now next check which I have is only h6. So that is another check which we have to look in the position. Third is, now what are the option? King had only to return to g1, but he returned to g1 but will not get a g1 because the next move is pretty nice, checkmate. Right, now the king has no square and it cannot take the h1 rook because it is protected by the bishop. So, and why we had to give only force checkmate, right? Because if you look at few position back, if I waste even a single move, white can directly bring its queen to the h1. Let's say if I move my queen to somewhere, I can show you in analysis. Let's open that, and let's say I move my queen to here. You see, this is checkmate. You cannot do anything. You can just delay it by putting a piece in between, but that's it. You can further delay it, but that will be a deadly checkmate. Make sense? So if you bring it here, you take it, and then black king has nowhere to go. So if black doesn't deliver only checks, then black will be checkmated, right? So we started with the queen taking on this square. So either queen takes this, or if it moves here, we can just move queen to the h1, and this is also checkmate because this e2 square is covered by this bishop. So it cannot like move here, right, because that is also covered by the bishop. So this is a mate. Now a little bit more information on what this mate is called. So this technique is called as opera mate. And why it is called opera mate? So because it was played by Paul Morphy while he was watching opera, right? And here what he did in this given position, he had played his queen to b8, right? And that is a sacrifice because if you see the knight can capture the b8 queen on b8, but then rook will go on the d8, and that will be checkmate because now rook is protected by the bishop on g5, and even the square on top of it, meaning e7, this black square, that is also controlled by bishop. So this entire diagonal is controlled by bishop, and this d file, entire file, is controlled by the rook, and that is a pretty nice checkmate. So it started with a queen sacrifice and then moving the rook to the last rank, which is supported by bishop. And if you see, that is the exact pattern here. We start with a queen sacrifice here, and then we deliver the check with the rook, and finally moving to the last rank and delivering a checkmate. So if you are familiar with the opera mate, so this is called opera mate.